In Parliament on Tuesday this week, the Attorney-General advised that, and I quote, "Comfort should be taken that in 2022-23, South Australia's rate of youth offending was the second lowest in the nation, only behind the Australian Capital Territory." The government's document, titled the Young Offenders Plan, states that over the last 10 years there has been a significant and continuing decrease in the youth offender rate in South Australia. This morning, the Attorney-General announced a suite of new policies to tackle the so-called youth crime crisis. My question to the Attorney-General, therefore, is, given the statistics that he provided in Parliament just this week, what is the basis for this new policy? How will more young people being detained in custody reduce repeat offending? And isn't this just another case of the government capitulating to the populist law and order nonsense being peddled by the opposition?
Attorney-General.
I thank the honourable member for his question. I will agree with one part of it. Nonsense peddled by the opposition is something I think most of us in this chamber can get behind as a statement of fact and truth. However,
Order.
so we have the opposition.
The honourable.
Sorry, sir. I'm being interjected on with the opposition. All I heard the opposition say is youth crime is a joke. Sir, we don't treat it that way. We certainly don't treat it that way, sir. That is not our view of the world.
You have a point of order. Sit down, Minister.
Yeah, he needs to retract that. He completely misquoted. I was saying that you were joking about youth crime, not me.
Order. Okay, interjections are out of order and the Minister won't respond to them.
Thank you, sir.
Now, Attorney.
Thank you, sir. And I appreciate the honourable member's question. It relates to incidents of youth crime and announcements that we've made today about young offenders. It is true, as the honourable member has stated, that in the official nationally consistent figures, South Australia has a relatively low rate of youth offending. In the 2022-2023 reported year, we were the second lowest in the nation, only after the ACT, sir. Only after the ACT. And I'm pleased to report. Please report, sir, there are new figures released just today from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and once again, South Australia has the second lowest rate of youth offending in the nation after the ACT. And in fact, sir, we have seen a slight decrease. I believe about a decrease in the drop of in relation to young offenders recorded by the police in South Australia. However, sir, we do know, and the Police Commissioner has made public comments, that there are a small group of offenders committing many and serious crimes. I think one of the statistics is that 20 young people were responsible for 11% of matters heard by the Youth Court. So a small group of young offenders responsible for a disproportionately large amount of offending. And whilst it is true, we have a relatively low offending rate in South Australia, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't continue to do everything we can as a government to keep the community safe, sir. The announcements we've made today are very specifically targeted at that relatively small cohort who are responsible for a disproportionate amount of that offending, looking at ways to disrupt some of the circumstances that young people find them in, particularly with street youth gangs, but also, sir, and critically importantly, looking at programs particularly for that cohort, that small number of youth that are responsible for such a large amount of the offending. Part of the announcement today that I'm sure the Honourable Robert Simms will appreciate is that the announcement of an extra $3 million of new money for intervention and rehabilitation programs for that, particularly aimed at that small cohort of young offenders. We do not wish to see some of these young offenders ending up being older youth committing crimes and then being adults committing crimes. We want to try and intervene as early as we can when some of these people come in contact with the criminal justice system, and that's exactly what this plan is aimed at, reducing offending and community safety.